Once upon a time, there was a green horse. Her eyes were like green apples. Her mane was like ivy that braided fences and trees. Her back was like soft moss, and she always wanted to be stroked. Her stockings on her legs were as silvery as aspen leaves, and her tail was like a cedar branch. The green horse lived in the wild, in the forests, and in the wilderness, and grazed wherever he wanted. It was very difficult to spot it among the greenery, and people who went to the forest never noticed it. And there lived a boy whose name was Johnny, and he knew nothing about the green horse. He'd never heard of it, that's all. So one day Johnny went into the woods. He was picking and picking blueberries when he came to a place where Green Horse was resting. She was dozing, and suddenly she heard someone coming. She opened her eyes, and it was Johnny. He's coming right at her, but he can't see her. He's going to step on her. What do I do? Green Horse spoke perfect English, but what can you say when Johnny's coming right at you with blueberries? The horse was confused and said, "Shh, shh, shh." Johnny was stunned. He couldn't understand who was saying shh, shh, shh to him. "What?" he said, but his lips quivered, and his eyes opened so wide and unfathomable with horror that the green horse looked into them and loved him at once, forever and ever. "Quiet," she said. "Quiet, Johnny. I'm the one lying here, the green horse." "Who?" Johnny shouted. "Who's lying there? Where? What horse?" "Don't yell like that," said the green horse. "I'm kind." And then she waved her tail and stood before Johnny in all her forest glory. And Johnny suddenly saw the cedar bush and the whole forest come to life. "Oh, oh, oh, oh," he yelled in a bad voice, threw down the basket of blueberries and ran home. And the horse thought, why was he so frightened? I've got to explain everything to him, to calm him down. So she followed Johnny at a gallop, and he ran out of the woods, rushing across the field to the village, and behind him he heard the stomping of hooves. And he looked back, and oh my gosh, a horse, a green one, rushing after him through the oat field. "Stop!" the horse is shouting. "Stop! Don't be afraid of me." And Johnny runs even faster. He gets to the house. He runs inside. "Mommy!" he screams. "Daddy! The green horse is after me." Daddy, also a big guy, jumped out on the porch and grabbed a rake, and then they're both screaming, "Horse! Green horse! Chase it away!" And there was a neighbor named Mr. Pillow. He came out of his house, saw the green horse, and realized what was going on. He grabbed a strong rope and put it around the horse's neck, and then he flicked the whip and drove the green horse into the corral. And this corral was like a huge shed with a roof, a stable, only there were no horses in it now. They were working in the field. So Mr. Pillow tied up Green Horse, threw some hay on him, and locked the barn with a huge padlock. That's how stupid Green Horse got. "Well, what's up?" Johnny's running up to Mr. Pillow. "How's Green Horse? Is he kicking?" "What green horse?" replies Mr. Pillow. "It ain't no green horse. It's just my own horse, and it's green because it's in the grass. They made up Green Horse." Johnny and Papa wanted to peek through the crack, but Mr. Pillow snapped his whip. "Step away from my stable, neighbors. I'm not looking in your barn." So Mr. Pillow unhooked the big dog from the kennel and tied him to the front of the stable, and the dog's name was Rex. Rex opened his big fangs and barked so loud it made the dogs in the neighborhood 100 miles away. Daddy says, "What's that green horse thing you got going on, Johnny?" "Oh, Papa, Papa," said Johnny and cried bitterly. Only now he realized that he had happiness in his hands, and that he had run away from that happiness and shouted at the top of his voice. Bitterly and bitterly Johnny cried. He cried so long and so bitterly that he loved the green horse forever and realized that now he would have no rest, day or night. But night had not yet come, but evening had come. In the evening, the horses were brought in from work. Mr. Pillow stood at the gate and counted the horses, and when they all went into the corral, he locked the doors again. And then the horses saw Green Horse standing in the stable. "Oh my God," they said. "Green Horse? Is it really you? You're a free horse. How did Mr. Pillow get you?" Foolishly, Green Horse explained, "Because of one boy. A really nice boy. I fell in love with him." "How could you," snorted the horses, "fall in love with a boy? You should have fallen in love with some decent stallion. Horses have always loved people," suddenly came a low and strong voice. "And especially children." It was the horse called Midnight. He approached the green horse and bowed to her. "Do you recognize me?" he asked. "I recognize you, Midnight," the green horse bowed back. "And now we must think," said Midnight, "how you can get out." And the horses moved their huge heads, pressed their manes against each other, and began to think. Quietly, quietly, they thought. They thought all night and sometimes whispered. Mr. Pillow whispered to no one, of course, but he was thinking with his head on his pillow. He had really big pillows on his bed, thick as pigs. And these were the silly things Mr. Pillow thought. "We ought to sell this horse to the circus. How much should I ask? How much? Oh?" And he began to count and count in his mind. And then he put his thoughts under the biggest pillow, and on top of it he pressed a small pillow with a weight inside so that it would not fly off. And Johnny slept on the smallest pillow, only on another one without a weight, and in another house. But he didn't sleep long and suddenly woke up. He looked. It was night all around him. There's a moon in the window. It's light outside, and everything sparkles with moonlight green. Johnny got dressed and went out on the porch. His heart clutched at the fact that there was a green horse in the world. He climbed over the fence and went to the stable. And on the doorstep of the stable, as you know, was sleeping at that moment a huge and vicious dog named Rex. Rex had eaten a lot of pork the night before, and so he snored so terribly that the roof of the stable shook. Johnny touched the lock and picked it with a nail, but the lock wouldn't open, and then Rex stopped snoring. He woke up, but he didn't open his eyes yet. His first thought was, "The pork was rotten. My stomach hurts. Pillow's a pig. He fed me rotten pork. All right, I'll open my eyes and see who's picking the lock." And he opened his eyes and saw Johnny. He opened his mouth and was just about to bark when Johnny said, "Wait a minute, Rex. Be quiet. Mr. Pillow's gonna come out with a gun and shoot me. I'll bring you a bone later." "Okay," Rex says. "What are you doing here?" "I'm opening the horse. There's my green horse." "I've seen her," Rex nodded. "I'd break the whole stable for a horse like that." And Johnny went back to picking at the castle, while Rex gave advice. "Hit him with a brick." "Who's picking the lock?" I heard a voice from the stable. "It's me, Johnny. I'm trying to free Green Horse. Who are you?" "I'm Midnight," said the horse. "You can't open a lock like that with a nail. You'd better get into the stable through the attic window. We've got to untie Green Horse. Mr. Pillow's got her tied up with ropes." Johnny took a ladder and climbed into the stable through the window, and though it was dark in the stable, the moon helped, and Johnny untied all the horses, and he put his arms around Green Horse's neck and stroked her, and she whispered in his ear for a long time. "And now, Johnny," said Midnight, "get out and go home and get some sleep, and when dawn comes, get up and hide in the elder bushes, see what happens." So Johnny went to bed and got up early and did as Midnight had told him. At daybreak, Mr. Pillow woke up. He called for the workers. Get your ropes. Let's take Green Horse to sell." The workers took the ropes, and Mr. Pillow opened the stable door. Then Midnight burst out and knocked Mr. Pillow down, and after him the rest of the workers' horses scattered, and Green Horse was the last to run out. She swung over the fence and ran toward the woods, and the other horses galloped after her. Mr. Pillow seized the money, running away. He grabbed his gun and was just about to shoot when Johnny jumped out of an elderberry bush and shouted behind him, "Hands up, Mr. Pillow." Mr. Pillow dropped the gun, and it went off so fast that the workers and the buckshot were scattered all over the bushes, and Mr. Pillow seized Johnny standing there. He grabbed the boy and threw him into the cellar and put a barrel of pickles on the lid. Johnny started screaming in the cellar, but nothing could be heard. His voice couldn't get through the pickles. Mr. Pillow untied Rex, got on his bicycle and rode off to the woods to catch Green Horse and the other horses, and the workers all got on their bikes. It was a stupid picture. Rex was in the lead, roaring like a siren, and the bicyclists were running through the mud behind him. They've caught all the horses. "Where's Green Horse?" Mr. Pillow yells, and there she is, lying in the bushes on the edge of the forest, and nobody sees her. They don't see her, that's all. "Rex, look, sniff for tracks." Rex sniffs the tracks, but he doesn't need to sniff anything. He can see the Green Horse. But he won't give Green Horse to Mr. Pillow. It's not because of the rotten pork, it's just his temper. "If you'll excuse me," he says to the horse quietly, "I'll tell you something bad. Mr. Pillow put your Johnny in the cellar with a barrel on top of him." "What's in the barrel?" the horse is asking. "I'm not sure, but I think it was pickles. You come back tonight." Mr. Pillow and his workers broke bicycles till dark, but they couldn't find the Green Horse. So they went back to the village, and there was a commotion. Johnny was missing. His daddy and mommy were crying all over the village, but they couldn't find him. And then evening came again, and then night, and the Green Horse rode into the village, and straight to Mr. Pillow's yard. "Just in time," said Rex. Mr. Pillow had gone to bed. "Where's Johnny?" "He's in the cellar behind the stable." The horse looked behind the stable and saw Mr. Pillow's cellar. He dug it deep in the ground, in the darkest place, and piled a pile of sand and sawdust on top of it. At the top of the pile was the door where the pickle barrel now stood. The horse wanted to roll the barrel, but he couldn't. "Try to kick it with your hind hooves," Rex advised. "Kick it with your hind hooves." The horse took aim, kicked properly, and the barrel shook. "Stop, stop, don't hit the barrel, don't hit it," someone shouted. The horse was surprised, and Rex was surprised. They look around, but they don't understand who's shouting, and Mr. Pillow was sound asleep. He was sleeping soundly, but not very soundly, and he dreamed of a green horse, and she was so beautiful that Mr. Pillow suddenly fell in love with her with all his might. That's what happens in dreams. Mr. Pillow fell in love with the green horse and spun around, and he twirled so much that the smallest pillow, in which the weights were placed, fell off and hit the floor. And on the floor, there was a copper basin. The basin rattled and jumped from the impact, and the mice, who were running on the floor, got tangled up in the string hanging from the table out of fear. The string pulled the pot with pea soup. The pot fell down, and there was such a rumble that plates fell from the shelves, and everything began to fall. The poker, the TV set, the cupboard, chairs, kerosene, lamp, a pot of porridge. In fact, everything in the house all fell to the floor. Mr. Pillow wakes up. Everything, literally everything, was on the floor. And there's a rumble in the yard. It's Green Horse kicking the barrel, and he hears it right away. "Don't kick the barrel, don't kick it." "Who's yelling?" the horse said. "It's us." cucumbers, screaming. When you hit it, our whole body shakes. You'd better kick the lid off. And then Mr. Pillow came running outside. A horse, Green Horse. I fell in love with you in my sleep. And the horse wouldn't listen to Mr. Pillow. He hit the lid with his hoof, and the cucumbers jumped out of the barrel and scattered in all directions. The horse easily pushed the empty barrel, and Johnny crawled out of the cellar. He was shivering, frozen. The horse and Rex began to scrub him and warm him and blow on him. They warmed him up. "Go home quickly, Johnny," said the horse, "and come back to the forest in the morning." Johnny ran home to comfort his mother and father, and Mr. Pillow came up to Green Horse and said, "Listen, Green Horse, I can't live without you. Why don't you love me?" "Listen, Mr. Pillow," Rex intervened. "You locked Green Horse in the stable and put Johnny in the cellar. How can you love such a punk?" "Don't grumble, Rex," said Green Horse. "I love everybody." "When will we meet again?" Mr. Pillow asked. "I really want to see you." "It's easy," said Green Horse. "Come to the forest, walk around a bit, and when you hear someone whispering and breathing warmly behind your ear, say these words: 'Green Horse, is that you? Well, hello, hello. Look around and you'll see me.'" So said the horse and waved over the fence. The next morning, of course, Mr. Pillow ran straight into the woods on his bicycle. Then he hid the bicycle under a bush and started walking. Suddenly, he hears someone whispering behind his ear, whispering and breathing warmly. "Green Horse," shouted Mr. Pillow. "Is that you? Well, hello, hello." He looked back and there was a scary face with fangs breathing garlic on him. "Rex! I forgot to tell you that Rex loved garlic patties." And then Johnny came into the woods. He walked around a bit and heard someone whispering behind his ear and breathing warmly. "Green Horse, is that you? Well, hello, hello." He looked back and it was indeed the Green Horse. He began to stroke her soft back, braid her mane, and then they went off somewhere together.